Welcome back. So I didn't do a little intro video to this. I don't know why. I just didn't. But this is some eastern red cedar. For those that don't be technical, yes, it is juniper, but we call it cedar down here, or aromatic cedar. And what I've got here is a Carter and Sons 3/4 inch bowl gouge. They call it the wood beater because it's a hefty little thing. It's big. But if you've ever turned cedar, it's tricky. Um, you never know if it's going to explode or if a chunk's going to come flying off. So I was cautious the whole time turning this thing. And the other thing that I've noticed about it is it will dull a gouge quick. That was me just checking my edge to see how good it was, and now I'm getting out the half-inch Carter and Sons bowl gouge on this thing. I had to sharpen it quite more than usual, but I mean, cedar, for it to be such a soft wood, it'll wear your edge out pretty quick. Smells great, but it'll wear your edge out. Now this thing is only held in with a worm screw. I was getting a little brave doing this part. Oh, the things you do sometimes. And I explained this in one of my other videos, but it's a leftover piece of tenon with wood in it that I cut out well, not cut, I measured the size needed for a tenon and for a mortise, and I drilled those holes on each side and marked them T and M accordingly. Nail in the center goes where your tailstock was stuck in, and then nail you can put in either the mortise hole or the tenon hole, and marks it perfectly. You ain't gotta play the guessing game. You notice that dark ring around the tenon. Um, Anytime I'm doing cedar, I'll squirt a little bit of thin CA glue just to really saturate it, make it hard, eliminate any chance of not any chance, just reduce the risk of it snapping or breaking off. It it helps. What I'm doing here is any crack I see, I'll saturate it down with some thin CA. And the glue that I use, it's not Star Bond. I use Glue Masters. You can get some pretty big bottles, and I think a 8-ounce bottle is like $25 or something like that. I'll go through that stuff like crazy because I don't hesitate to use it. But from what I found out and learned is there's actually quite a few people that's highly allergic to it. So this cedar's actually reclaimed. It came out of my woods and been sitting in my shop for about a year. You see the dog going in circles laying in the shavings. Something about dogs and cedar, I don't know what it is, but all my shavings I take and rake them out when I'm doing cedar, that way she can lay in them because she'll get under my feet. What I'm doing now is just going over the high spots, trying to get that surface CA back off, even though I'm about to finish reapplying some more to the spots that I see. But nonetheless, what I'm doing here is, like I said, with cedar wanting to crack. Anytime I'd stop it, I could hear it lightly ticking, and that was it moving, shifting, and cracking. So what I did was just went over it with a few coats of medium CA and let it set in and soak in real good. I should have used thin CA, but I was out at that point, so I made do with what I had, and it worked. I didn't record the whole hollowing process. I mean, this thing was a beast. It's one of the biggest hollow forms I've done yet. And like I said in a few other videos, it's pretty tough getting all the footage down to a reasonable amount of time that people can still maintain interest in watching and finishing all the way through without having to skip and fast forward. Here I'm just cleaning it off with some denatured alcohol after I sanded that bottom down. Now that I got that outside shape finally done, because I'm going to go over it with a few more coats of CA just to lock everything in, especially that bottom. Like I said, with cedar, you never know. This stuff's been dried and set up for a long time, and even being out in the woods, it was actually fell over and up off the ground, so it was pretty dry, and that was my finger. The thing about CA is you've got to have a saran wrap helps. Of course, I didn't have it on this, because if it starts going off curing on the paper towel, it will melt your glove, and it's not fun when your finger's involved. And another heads up about CA finishes and doing that is, especially in large pieces, the gas off, you really need a vent hood or something like that just to keep the fumes out, because it was horrible. I don't do that unless I have to, because it just sucks. Burns your eyes, burns your nose, not really good for you. And as many people as I know that's allergic to it, it's probably like peanuts. You can eat them every day of your life, then one day you eat them, have anaphylactic shock reaction, and wind up in the hospital if you're lucky. I know some people, their throat and lungs will swell shut, and game over for them. You can see me angle it in there a little bit. When I'm parting something off, I'll try to angle it in, that way it's recessed. That way I'm not having to worry about watching the edge of it. I just cut it off with a flush cut saw right there and sand the bottom of it off like this, and it's nice and recessed, and you ain't got to worry about going and messing up the rim, making it all off balance, or not off balance, towards sits crooked. And then just like with the rest of it, put a nice little coat of CA on the bottom of it also. Didn't want any chances of this thing splitting down the road, so I figured this was the best option for it. Alright, well here it is. I do my lacquer, wet sanding, buffing on these pieces. Some of them I do natural, but I don't always record that part because it's such a lengthy process, and I don't want to bore you with that every single time. But I do have a video that I'll put a link up in the top right. That way you can see how I go about doing that process. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time.